Well, my journey has been a long one. I'm 75 and I started in my 30s. I think we all have a creative side, and mine perhaps is a little more developed. I had a great high school art teacher. Her name was Nellie Keeler-Lowe from Lockerbie, and she was very supportive. And from there, I joined the Sudbury Art Club, made some friends, and I've been involved in 60 group shows and 10 solo shows. And for a while, even in this building, we had a group called the Drawing Circle. We had life drawing once a month, and that was a good experience. It teaches you about form and shape, and then you can carry that forward into your landscape paintings and drawings. I'm inspired by the modernist movement, and that's basically about experimentation. It's about abstraction and personal experiences. And I think that colors all of my work up till this point. I'm inspired sometimes just by looking out my dining room window. Below us is beautiful Lake Nepewan, and I love to see the storms coming in. And that inspires me to do sketches and then paintings. The people and the landscape of Sudbury are infinitely inspiring. Also, artists that I know. So this is Mary Green, and in the other room, it's another painting of Mary Green, and her journey of grief when she lost her life partner, Doug Donnelly, and she went through some really dark times, but emerged as a happier whole person. And so if you look at the symbols in that painting, you can see the Furies in the background, and she was always a earthy kind of person, and so those are reflected in some of the symbols, and I'm very happy that that painting shows her journey and her recovery. And so the journey continues, and I'm quite excited about it. Well, I usually start with quite a detailed drawing, and from that I decide what support I'm going to use. So am I going to use paper? Am I going to use canvas? Historically, I've used mainly paper. So in this particular case, for this series called Smokestacks, I'm using UPO paper, which is non-absorbent. It's made of polypropylene. It is environmentally friendly, it's recyclable, tree-free. So then I decide, okay, well, what medium am I going to use on the paper? And I've decided in the last 4 years to use exclusively Ecoline liquid watercolor. And the reason for that is on a trip to Barcelona to Sagrada Familia, we went down to the workshops, and they were using liquid watercolor with a lot of water to design their stained glass windows. And so I was quite excited about that. And when we got back to Canada, I bought a whole bunch of colors, and I started using them on the UPO paper. Most artists would use alcohol ink because the way it separates. I was quite excited about the fact that with varying your technique, you would get really interesting puddles of color, and you would get, depending on the color that you used, you would get interesting design and shapes by the use of this liquid watercolor. Then, after the painting is completed, you then have to mat and frame it. And then the biggest task of all is to try to find a public gallery to exhibit your work. And then you have to do all of the paperwork for grant applications and follow-up. And there's also auxiliary things that you can do, which is making cards, and sometimes you can rent the paintings through the gift shop for films, and whether it be television series or movies. And I've also done work with Prise de Parole, which is the French publishing company, to do covers for books. So the process repeats itself. Sometimes it changes depending on the medium that I'm using. And I like to challenge myself with each solo exhibition to change the medium. I've done encaustic, I've done acrylic paint, and then now I'm returning in this last series to traditional watercolor. I've been very lucky to do a lot of traveling throughout the world, and on a trip in 2018 to Barcelona, we caught a taxi from the airport, and we had to stall it. We stopped at a traffic light, and to my left was the Barcelona Brickworks. It was a dilapidated, old, rundown building, and I did a quick little sketch, and later on in the hotel room, I developed it, and then I just let it sit in my memory and my references till about maybe 2 years ago, and then I decided to do a painting. And it's the technique I use is liquid watercolor on Yupo paper, and I think it, for me, captures a very special moment of being in Barcelona, which is a wonderful city. Quite often throughout our travels, we go to Nice every couple of years, visit all of the great galleries, the Matisse Gallery, the Marc Chagall Museum, Picasso's museum, and each time there might be another artist exhibiting in one of the other galleries, and they can provide inspiration for my work. So I'm very fortunate to have done that traveling. I look forward to perhaps a return to Alberta and British Columbia and the Rocky Mountains, because I've had 2 series based on those mountains, and it's a spiritual, uplifting place to visit. And I think for the rest of my life, I'll want to go back there. So it's on my bucket list to return. And also, we were fortunate to travel to Newfoundland in 2015, and it is really the most beautiful province in Canada, and the terrain and the landscape and the people are very inspiring, as are the people of Sudbury and our landscape. We can never discount what a beautiful place we live in, even though it is not, it's more of a terrible beauty and not another defined beauty by someone else's standards. My advice to aspiring artists would be trust in your talent and continue to develop your skills. Be brave and participate in group shows whenever the opportunity arises. There are opportunities through Galerie de Nouvelle Ontario and also through the Art Gallery of Sudbury. Join an art club. That's always a good thing, and you're with like-minded artists, and it helps to increase your confidence. And always listen to your inner creative voice, and don't be afraid to get out there and make your first move by participating in a show, and then build up your CV, and from there the future is yours. I've just completed 2 series. The first one's called Waterborne, and it was based on travels that I had to Burlington during the Burlington Art Exchange between the Art Gallery of Sudbury artists and artists from Southern Ontario. So there were exhibitions at the Art Gallery of Sudbury and also at the Burlington Art Centre. So we were walking along the shores of Lake Ontario, and I happened upon this colorful material floating in the water, and it inspired me because it was like a ballet, and I wanted to capture the essence of that form, which was submerged, and make collages based on that and other objects that I encountered on the shore. And so the series is called Waterborne, and it's cut up old paintings and reimagined and rearranged into new forms. And I want to challenge the audience to try to recognize what those forms would be. And just initially, people visiting the studio would say, oh, that looks like a bird, or that looks like a fish. And I want to use special lighting to create shadows, which creates more of mystery and adds a new dimension to the work. So I hope that series will be presented sometime in the future at perhaps an artist-run center or a public gallery. And then finally, smokestacks, which is a continuation of my smokestack series. It will have 40 paintings and is based on 160 drawings from the last 15 years. And it is liquid watercolor on Yupo paper. And I've named each of the paintings after a street in each of the communities where they have smokestacks. So I think it will be quite a celebration of the stacks and the smokestacks, especially now as within the next 5 years, the main superstack is going to be torn down. So it's part of our history. It's our Eiffel Tower, industrial, omnipresent industrial giant, and it's been a part of all of our lives for 30, 40 years, and it's inspired me to do this series.